Welcome, willkommen,
Bienvenue, добро пожаловать, witamy,
benvenuto,
ようこそ
to This Week in Voice Live.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Hello to everybody out in the audience. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Good to see you, Emerson. And Jossie, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yes, it's great to be here. Good morning.
Yeah, nice to see you guys as well. For anybody that is tuning in, welcome to This Week in Voice Live. We're going to be following our standard format, so we will have about 10 minutes of news. We will have about 10 minutes of interview with our esteemed guest, Jossie Haines from Tile. And then today we will be reprising our game from last week, which was Dictionarium, which is a Jackbox game. Just to give you guys and
Can't wait to lose again.
hopefully our words are just as good this time as they were last time. For anybody that is listening in right now, you can go ahead and go to jackbox.tv on your phone and have it pulled up. When we get to that time, we will give you a secret code, and you, as the audience members, get to be the guest judges and see who gets to come up with the best fake word and fake definitions. So without further ado, let's talk about some news. Bradley, you want to go first?
Sure, I can go first, and I'm going to read this headline out loud. So this is a story that I think is particularly interesting out of the stuff that's over the last week. So Microsoft Teams is getting shared external channels, smart speakers, and new presenter modes. And so this article, it's on GeekWire, I'm sure it's been reported on other places, basically discusses how Microsoft is using voice and voice-oriented technology to enhance internal and external communication. And I think that's to be expected. I think what really makes it interesting for me is I love this idea of deploying, and working on customizing hardware for specific use cases. With voice, what we've seen so far, mostly over the last 3 or 4 years, really since Alexa came on the scene, was we're going to roll out some generalist piece of hardware. This is Amazon's approach, been copied a gazillion times. We're going to roll out some generalist hardware, and we're just going to shoehorn in whatever it is on the software side we're trying to do. So, you might have a piece of hardware and you really don't do that much to the hardware, and all of your effort goes to the software in terms of the vernacular of a particular vertical, or different ways that you might customize that to fit a particular industry or sector. And I think when I look at this story and I see this article and I see what Microsoft is doing with this Echo Dot looking device to tweak it, customize it, tune it to fit communicating internally and externally, I see something that we ought to see a whole lot more of, which is at least a more in balance approach at when you're talking voice and voice tech, tweaking the hardware, customizing the hardware, tailoring it, rather than spending all your time tailoring the voice assistant itself for what you're trying to do. So anyway, I found that of particular interest.
Well, I thought it was interesting. I put a little image there. Their first intelligent smart speaker that they revealed looks pretty darn familiar to me. Looks an awful lot like a first generation Amazon Echo device. Why reinvent the wheel or reinvent the hockey puck in this case? I do think it is interesting. They want to compete with Zoom. They want to compete with Slack's offering as well, obviously. But they have a 1,000 participant limit for any of the broadcasts, which is pretty significant. But they also limit your annual broadcast total to 10,000 participants. So it's clear that they're really not, they're not intending it to be a, go-to webinar type competition. It really is for companies broadcast to their employees or internal force. It's like I said, why invent the wheel? It is an interesting, different strategy than some of their competition, but obviously something to stay relevant and competitive in that crowded market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
Go ahead, Jeff.
to me, it shows that they're just, people are going to be going back into the office, and that is kind of them releasing a product for that, right? You're not going to put one of these hockey pucks in your home. You're going to put it in the middle of an office conference room and have 10 people walk in and have it automatically detect who they are when you're in a meeting, right? So they're really preparing for this future, which is actually something a lot of these companies were looking at pre-COVID, which is how do you create the smart office, right? Right now, you walk into a conference room, you have to fiddle with your thing, whoever's manufacturer you've got hooked up, whether it's Zoom or whoever. You go in, you fight with this thing for 5 minutes. Everyone's like, can you hear me, right? And so the dream is you walk into a conference room, it knows everybody who's in the room, and it's automatically able to start the meeting, potentially show the right slides, and be able to eventually, what would be great for this is for people of deaf or hard of hearing to be able to use the voice to do automatic transcripts during the meeting. So I would not be surprised if that came as a future feature as well.
Yeah, and that's what Alexa for Business tried to do. I think they're not quite there yet, but maybe Microsoft will pull it out. Switching gears really quick, just want to be cognizant of time. One other article that I saw that I thought was pretty funny was Fire TV now being integrated in the upcoming Jeep Grand Wagoneer and Wagoneer. So Fiat Chrysler, like a year ago, announced that they were going to have Alexa natively built into their automobiles. They're the first major auto manufacturer to do the new custom assistant capability, which perhaps unsurprisingly lives within the Alexa Auto realm, the Alexa Auto team. But it's kind of a throwback to I remember as a young child when you would have big CRT monitors built into full-size vans, right? And you could play N64 sitting in the back while your parents were driving. They've done some stuff to try and make it a little bit safer, to reduce some of that distraction. They have what they call a privacy screen, which I think is just using like lenticular glass to make sure that the driver can't see what's playing on the main dash when they're driving along. But it does seem like it's a perfect recipe for increasing distracted driving.
Yeah. It's these things in the car. You kind of tolerate it because it's in Amazon's. It's Amazon not doing anything differently. Amazon has made the last 4 or 5 years of experimenting and throwing literally everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. And so, this is absolutely no different. They're trying something new, and we'll see how it goes. So we'll hopefully no cars will veer off the road in the meantime.
Well, I mean, this is no different than what Tesla announced, where they're going to have you be able to play like video games in your Tesla car, right? Like, at least here it's just a movie for potentially your kids or your passenger versus like actually playing a game while driving.
Yeah, it does make me wonder. Like, I use the casting ability of the Google ecosystem all the time. Whether to my Roku television, whether to my Nest Home hubs, I'm constantly pulling something up on my phone, casting it to, or on my laptop, casting it to the TV. It makes me wonder what Google with the Android Auto ecosystem is going to do, and how long it's going to be till, whether with their Android Auto operating system that they've talked about, or even just with the basic Android Auto capabilities, when they're going to support something like that as well.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the challenges with both Android Auto and CarPlay is the integrations right now are pretty limited to the type of apps that you can integrate with.
Yeah.
CarPlay actually just expanded it a little bit, I think about a year ago. But yeah, and it's good because they're being cautious. And they aren't just being like, let's let everybody do everything on the car and be distracted. So I think that part that they're being conscious about is good. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of comes next.
Yeah. So now let's switch out of news and talk about you, Josie. Josie, for anybody who is watching who is not familiar, who hasn't met you before, do you want to give an idea of who you are, of what some of your background is in the space, what it is that you do at Tile and some of the previous companies you've worked for?
Yeah, so hello everybody. I'm Jossie Haines. I'm currently the Senior Director of Platform and Web Engineering at Tile, and I also head up our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. So on the platform side, I actually integrate Tile into our partner technologies. So some of the integrations we've done are enabling Google Homes to be able to directly ring tiles without needing additional hardware. And the same thing with Comcast. They actually have a voice assistant that a lot of people don't know about as part of the X1 remote, and we support that as well. On the website, I manage our e-commerce team. I've been in the consumer tech space for over 20 years. Prior to Tile, I was actually at Apple working on Siri. So I worked on the Siri music, media, and sports domains. On the music side, I actually worked on Siri Music during the development of the HomePod, and we added over 40 different features to Siri Music, including being able to say things like, know the other one when you want to play a different version of the same song. And then on the TV side, I worked on Siri on Apple TV support. And so that enables you to be able to say something like, find me romantic comedies from the 1990s starring Jane Fonda. And we actually won a technical Emmy for that integration while I was leading the team. And so, yeah, I've been doing voice stuff for about 5 years now between Apple and Tile.
Bradley, this is a momentous day that we have an Emmy Award winner on our humble show. This is great.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's a momentous day that we have a Apple alumna on our show. So we'll temporarily halt the Apple slander
Yeah.
for this.
Only temporarily.
Only temporarily, yes. So, Josie, you've got an interesting line of sight. Coming from big tech, basically, where you spend a significant amount of time, obviously, and then now, I guess considering Tile, I don't know if you consider it a startup or certainly a younger company. What you said about diversity and equity and inclusion is interesting. With your perspective and having seen the biggest of big and now still being in tech, but with a more emergent group of folks, what's number one to you in terms of what companies ought to be doing, either specifically in the voice and conversational AI space or in tech more broadly, to further diversity and inclusion? To further diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, so I'll start with broadly, and then we'll talk about the voice space. So, broadly, especially with the pandemic, right now we're actually in potentially having a diversity recession. And what I mean by that is actually 1 in 4 women are considering doing something that they wouldn't have done pre-pandemic, which is actually leaving the workforce. And if we actually have senior women leaving the workforce, then we don't have any examples for women as they're trying to go up in their career. So I think the biggest thing for companies, if they want to keep diversity and the small progress we've even made in the last 10 years, is to really focus on how to provide, flexible work environments, be compassionate to people who have parents or kids that they're taking care of, and ensuring that you're making a space for them. And so that's the big one on the diversity, equity, and inclusion side for me. And it's really about building inclusive cultures. So many companies focus on the diversity piece because it's a numbers game, right? You can look at how many women you have, how many, people of different racial ethnicities, but inclusion is a lot harder to measure. But the problem is, if you focus just on the diversity piece, you're going to end up having a revolving door in your company because those people aren't going to be able to thrive because of the lack of inclusive culture. So you have to kind of think about both things. In the voice space specifically, one of the things I've really been saying is we really need to think about this and the bias in the underlying data and just the people who are building the technology. And so, again, not to slam Siri here, but I have actually an example. So in Siri Sports, if you actually ask, hey Siri, tell me who are the top basketball players, it actually defaults to men. The sports team at Siri is all men, and they decided that if you ask about sports, most people just care about men's sports. And if you want women's sports, you explicitly say women, right? And that, while that may potentially be true, that has long-term implications. And so it's, but a lot of the people working in those companies, they don't think about that. They don't think about the exponential, the potential bias of the features they're bringing in. And so, I think this is something that everybody in the tech industry needs to be more aware of, is just the underlying bias in the data that a lot of the machine learning is using. I was on a sales call the other day, and I actually had somebody tell me, they're like, yeah, our product is great. We use machine learning, and because of that, it's objective. And I was just like, oh, we're going to have a chat afterwards about bias in technology, but people don't realize that.
And so, Jossie, it seems almost like there needs to be not just that just having company mandates or company stated or written company culture about encouraging diversity and inclusion is not enough. That in addition, you need the actual employees, both the existing employees and then new hires, to be almost radically pro diversity and inclusion. It's almost like like the people say that not being racist is not enough. You got to be anti-racist. It's almost like just being sort of okay with or encouraging diversity and inclusion is not enough. You have to be staunchly, aggressively in favor or advocating for it on a personal level.
Yeah, and it's really the middle managers in tech that are going to make the difference, right? And they're really who we need to influence, because at the end of the day, they're the ones doing the majority of the hiring and setting the cultures for their teams. And so it doesn't matter if your executive team is talking about diversity all day. If your middle managers don't care, you're never going to be getting it within your company culture. And then the other thing around this piece is a lot of times when creating that inclusive culture, companies think, okay, we'll put people through an hour training on unconscious bias, and we did our little checkbox for the year, and that's it. Guess what? That's not how people learn. Not just D&I stuff, but in general. You actually have to drip content out, repeat it, make sure there's actionable steps. And so one of the big things I've been really thinking about and focusing on recently is, how do you take content for DEI and then kind of split it out to make it more actionable for people?
Your term diversity recession is really interesting. And what you talked about with women leaving the workforce is also really interesting. So my wife has been a long-time attorney, and is a well-known one. And, she has constantly wondered if it's time for her to just hang it up. Which would be to the great detriment of a lot of other women in her firm if she were to do that, for a number of reasons that I don't need to go into. So, it's it's a complex world for everybody, but for women navigating the workforce, it most certainly is, and I can appreciate that. The other thing I would say to that resonated as you were speaking was, I think about a DEI. The acronyms sort of elude me, but making things more equal for everybody and a recession on that. I think it's only just begun, and I'll tell you what I'm seeing, and I'm getting my ping from my co-host here to shut the hell up so we can move on. Briefly, in-person events is a major thing to watch for this idea of a recession, because the economics of events now are completely different. Most people don't think in-person events are happening. That's wrong. They're continuing to happen on a personal level. They're going to get back to happening on a business level, although when they come back, they're going to be very limited in scope. Why? Because everybody's nervous that every additional person walking in the door's got some virus. So what does that mean? That means that the opportunities for conferences and events to give access to underprivileged folks that would help further equality are less and perhaps non-existent. So there's stuff that all of us can do to further that. So anyway, I what you said really strikes a chord, and I think it was spot on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the insight, Jossie.
Yeah, great to be here.
So for anybody, we're going to switch
all I'm trying
gears.
to do is delay losing in this game again.
I don't know if that's possible. So we're going to switch gears. We're going to hop over to Jackbox for anybody that would like to play along and be a guest judge. We have the link up there. The code is SLDU. Head to Jackbox TV, type in SLDU, and you can join as a guest judge. I would say if you're going to be playing along on with the game, if you're going to be playing along, you will want to pay attention to your phone, because there's about a 15-second delay or so between what you'll see here on the screen and then what is going on your phone, the voting you need to do. So pay attention to your phone to be able to vote, and we will get this rolling.
Let's do it.
Bonjour, hello, salut, yesas. Welcome to the Dictionarium, where
And
words
for anybody
are king.
who's just joining,
But
the
I am
code
the Prime Minister, and I
link
wield all the political power.
to join is there in the top
Look at
right
these
of the
good
screen.
people. I am
S's and
already
Sam, L's
devoted
and
to you. In the
Mary, E's
Dictionarium,
and
you are
dog, U's
responsible
and
for making up and defining words.
university?
It's a team effort and
Oh,
also a
it's not,
competition.
not a
Oh,
military.
P.S. Feel free to join the audience. Enter the room code to play along. Time
All right,
to
so
play.
this game, the first round, it's going to give us a fake word.
First
and we
things
have to
first,
come up
I'm
with a
sending a word to
reasonable
your
and
device.
compelling guess for what we think the definition of that word is.
What do you think this word means? Write it down on your device. I found this word chomping on my sweaty gym socks. Nasty word. I love you.
And I'm not seeing, am I supposed to be accessing this on mobile, Emerson?
Or on your website, or on your computer, yeah, either way.
Yeah, it hasn't loaded.
Refresh the page, hopefully it lets you back
If you're
in.
not sure what to write, I say take a deep
Okay,
breath
here we
and take a big swing. You might just hit it out of the park.
This is what I do for my team game nights once a month as we play some Jackbox games. My favorite is I think it's called Murder Party or something.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
Hit submit. Time is almost up.
Down to the wire. All right.
Let's check these definitions out.
We have was tuna, or waste tuna, the leftover part of fresh fish that is too stinky to feed to your dogs. Ahi tuna covered with spicy wasabi. Ooh, that's a good one. A blueberry snack often consumed by Aleutian Eskimos, consisting of cubed whale fat and rock salt.
And now we vote. Pick the definition that's
Yeah.
so accurate it makes you weep. And remember, you can award bonus points to the ones that stole your heart.
right, audience members. Let's see what you guys voted for. Oh, almost a complete
There's
tie.
a tie, so this one wins.
Nice. All right, got it. Uh-oh, Bradley, we're neck and neck.
We are.
You got 2 more rounds to catch back up, though.
It's round 2.
And Josie's in a close.
Now it's your turn.
All
Make
right,
up a word that matches the definition on your device. This round is speedy, so your hand and your brain must also be speedy.
Or waste tuna, the leftover part of fresh fish that is too stinky to feed your dog.
Time is running out. Write those synonyms. Synonyms.
It's a tough one.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh yeah, no, I missed it too.
I think Emerson's winning this one,
Okay.
then.
Oh, I don't
Let's
know. I don't know if mine was any good.
Choose the word that best fits the definition.
Ah, nice.
There was a tie, so I just picked my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
I was set back by my definition of a blubbery snack.
Now we have a brand new word and definition.
All right,
Let's
so now the
use it.
final round, we got to come up with a way to use
Write
this
a
in
sentence
a
using
sentence.
the word on your device.
Compost, the leftover part of fresh fish that is too stinky to even feed to your
A
dog.
complete sentence contains a noun and a verb. An incomplete sentence is why those prison guards are still looking for me.
Get out of here.
You make me write a sentence,
Time
and
is
if
almost
I'm in
up.
last place, you're going to pay for it.
Let us behold the sentences.
All right, Trompost. I know you recommended that Michelin-starred restaurant, but the salmon just tasted like Trompost. Astro refuses to eat the Trompost, even if I disguise it in chicken liver. Oh, that's gotta be really stinky. When the game said Trompost was the better word for the given definition, I said nonsense and found comfort in my blubbery Eskimo snack.
Time to vote. And the most votes went to this one.
Oh, that was a rout. I think that's the first time maybe the first time I've won overall and won each of them.
The game
There
is
it
under
is.
protest.
What a glorious contribution to the dictionarium.
We tied there,
And
and
now
it
let's
gave
see
it
the
to
winner.
Trompo. This game is reminding me of Trompo.
Yeah, I would say something smells fishy, but maybe something smells Tromposty.
Come back again soon. I just found
Right.
a new
We're
word
sorry
and it's
to
dipped in
expose you
chocolate
to
and rolled in
this,
sprinkles and I want to eat it, but I
this
won't.
Entire exercise here.
I think we need a different jackpot.
If you are playing, well, it causes much
That was
hilarity.
good. That's
Many
a fun
silly
game.
words and phrases
Yeah, that's a good one.
hysteria.
That's a good
Now
one.
the
Yeah, I highly
Eskimo
recommend, Josie, you said you played this with your team. Highly recommend the Jackbox games for teams, family Zooms. Except for Devils in the Details. That's a good one to make you want to fire everybody on your team.
Well, I mean, especially with being remote, it's so important to be doing team building events. And so the Jackbox games are awesome for doing that and really having some intentional team building time.
Well, we are at the top of the half hour. Jossie, thanks so much for joining. Thanks so much for providing your insight.
Yeah, it was great being here.
Yeah, Jossie, a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for giving us some of your time.
And everybody out in the audience, thanks so much for joining us here on this Friday, and we will see you again next week. Have a great weekend.